Hi, my name is Jason, and I'm going to be bringing you a series that I've been thinking about for a while, but it's only recently come to fruition. I know a great deal about the September 11th terrorist attacks, more than most people, and through various research, including my thesis, I have learned intricate details that a lot of people don't understand or just simply don't know. And through this series, I hope to be able to break down those ideas into easy to digest and easy to understand chunks that all fit together to form a holistic picture. This is one of the darkest days in the history of our country and the world, and my hope is that the average person can get a better understanding of why they happened and what the fallout will be, so that we can prevent them in the future and be better for them. In this first episode, I wanted to talk about the profile of flights that were chosen and the strategy behind why they were chosen. The first choice that was made on the September 11th plot was the day was a Tuesday. Tuesday was chosen in particular because, statistically speaking, it's one of the two lightest travel days of the week along with Wednesday, so there would be minimal passengers to subdue for the hijackers. Now, all of the flights were scheduled to take off around the same time. They needed this to be well coordinated at the same time so that there were nobody able to, see what was going on and stop it. There would be mass confusion, which we did see. Although the United 93 incident, it did show why, what they were trying to avoid, and we'll get into that here in a minute. But all the scheduled flights were for about 8 in the morning. And that was chosen because not only is it in the morning, and you can get it over with before people really realize what's going on, but the transcontinental flights were chosen. And now you got to go across the country for a transcontinental flight. That's what that means. And so those were chosen for the large amounts of fuel that they would be possessing, as well as that they would be big planes. The two planes that hit the World Trade Center were 767s, and they carried about 20,000 gallons of fuel. Both of those flights originated from Boston's Logan Airport and were flying to Los Angeles International, carrying about 20,000 gallons of fuel. The two other planes that were headed towards Washington, D.C. were 757s that carried over 11,000 gallons of fuel. The flight that hit the Pentagon, American Flight 77, was from Washington, D.C. to Los Angeles, and Flight 93 from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco carried 11,000 gallons as well. So, you have big planes on a light travel day carrying a lot of fuel. Now, what about the airports? Boston to LA was chosen strategically by the hijackers because it was an easy path to get to New York. Now, when you see the flight paths from Boston to LA, you have to cross the Hudson River. And the Hudson River leads directly to New York City and to Manhattan Island. So what the hijackers did was in Flight 11's case, which was the flight that hit the North Tower. It was the first plane that hit on 9/11. The hijackers hijacked the plane and then turned south to follow the Hudson River. And they flew directly south from the north, obviously, into the North Tower. Flight 175, a United flight, hit the South Tower. And when they hijacked the plane, they overshot the Hudson River a little bit. They had to turn around, but they followed it due north to hit the South Tower on the southern tip of Manhattan Island in New York. Those were chosen, again, because you had actual landmarks, being the Hudson River, an actual landmark to follow as kind of a roadmap to make sure you got to your destination, to your target. Now, in Flight 77's case, the one that hit the Pentagon, they originated from Washington, D.C., so those guys basically just turned their flight directly back around and flew straight backwards where they came from. Then they pulled some crazy stuff at the end that we'll get into when we talk about the individual flights. And then the last flight was Flight 93 from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco. Newark, for those that don't know, is right outside of New York City on the New Jersey side. And their flight was delayed. Their flight was delayed by a significant amount of time, so they took off after all of the other planes were already hijacked. Now, all four planes were in the air at the same time, but between that delay and then the delay that the hijackers had in actually hijacking the plane, which for all the other flights was 20 or 30 minutes, and United 93's hijackers only took 46 minutes. Only. So they waited a long time, and now there's some theories behind that as well, and again, I'll get into that when we talk about the individual flights. But between the two delays being of takeoff and in the hijacking, that led to a massive delay between the first three flights and their flight. And so, this is what the terrorists were trying to avoid when they were booking flights all at the same type of time slot. And it was to keep people from realizing what was going on. By the time they had hijacked the plane, these people had been able to talk and communicate with their people on the ground on cell phones, airphones, and whatnot, learning that this was a suicide mission. They were talking about going back to the airport and having a bomb on board and whatever. That was all bogus. That was all BS to try to scare people. Now, these people that were on the plane learned that this was a suicide mission and said, to hell with that. If we're crashing, we're going down with a fight. And we'll get more into that when I talk specifically about United 93. But those were the profiles of the planes and why they were chosen. And United 93 is the example of why they did what they did.